Welcome to St. Vincent de Paul, Middletown. This is a story about life. These are the staff, the volunteers, and the clients at St. Vincent de Paul and Amazing Grace Food Pantry. Here are their stories.
I was born in Manhattan, New York City. I grew up in Manhattan since the age of 6. And then I went to foster care, I went to DCF, I've been in a group home. My mother was an alcoholic, so DCF came and took us at the age of 6. I was in a group home from the age of 6 to the age of 16.
I was born at Hartford Hospital. I lived in Wethersfield for the majority of my young adult life up until I went to college at UConn. Had done a volunteer, like a Sunday morning, with the church I was attending at the time to do, Sunday morning breakfast. And afterwards I was so, I guess, enthralled with the place and the message of the meeting needs and offering hope and just kind of what they were doing in the community that I had the courage to email the executive director and asked him for a job. And it just so happens that he had one at the time. When I became homeless, that's when I, found the resources at the soup kitchen, because I didn't know, how to operate a homeless life, I'm a housing case manager for currently 13 people who have vouchers funded by the state. They came out of homelessness and have some sort of disabling condition, whether it's physical or mental. So when Lydia came, though, yeah, she changed a lot. There wasn't no supportive housing, there wasn't a warming center, there wasn't a lead group. If you don't know what LEAD is, Leadership, Empowerment, Advocacy, Development. It's a speaking bureau. So we got that in order. And now we got housing, you know what I mean? Can't thank her enough, but she don't want to thank, but we still try. For some, the next step could be getting a job. You can't really apply for jobs if you don't have a permanent address to put on a resume. You can't, get phone calls back if you don't have, a place with a phone. And so that's so that's a step for some people. Sometimes it's getting an income of some sort. Maybe they need a place to apply for disability or something of the sort. Getting connected to doctors is another one. Getting the proper health and mental health care. Some people want to get a car. Some people want to get more connected to their kids, which they can't do, if they're living on the streets. If they have a place to bring their kids to, it's a lot safer of an environment. I'm hoping I don't, I want to, once I get a little bit more stable, I want to, give up the program and become independent. I mean, this is just a start, but, I don't want it to last forever, I want to be independent. Somebody else is going to need this program, and, why not try to help somebody, who needs it. A lot of people don't know about supportive housing, Mercy and St. Vincent and Columbus House. But, people get the perception that, we leeches because we gotta utilize, this nonprofit and the taxpayers are paying for it. I'm a taxpayer. A lot of people that's on these programs are taxpayers, but, they don't want to hear that side of it. They just want to hear, oh, you just want us to pay for your way in life, but that's not, it's just we struggled and, we're not begging you, we just, we're thankful for the help. And just a place to call home is a big motivation too. I see people coming out of homelessness take a lot of pride in their home. They take good care of it. Listen, we need y'all. We don't ask for a lot, but there's people out here struggling. And if you could get this message, we would appreciate it, There's a lot of things that you don't see on the inside of a person that you might see on the outside. They heart,
You can't see their heart on the inside, but they show it on the outside. We need y'all to do that for us. You know what I mean? Please, if you can, help us out. I'm not begging. I know Donald Trump in office, but you know, there's not a lot of people that's gonna sit here and ask y'all. I'm in a program. You know, I'm going through it. It's worth helping people, because it's helping us, the ones that's in it. I can see it changing people. I can see the change in me. So please, if you can, just help the next person, and your blessing will come. Thank you.
My name is Sue Whitmore. I'm a volunteer at Amazing Grace Food Pantry in Middletown. I've been here for 7 years.
The people here are wonderful. Of course, I knew Kathleen before, and I met Sue, and I met a whole bunch of, I knew Irvin. And every time I come, I get a different volunteer. Pleasantly surprised by the amount and variety of things that we had. Patience is a very important aspect to the whole deal. And you wait and you get called by your name and you go through a system of various foodstuffs. Bread is usually first, dessert comes next, then you get a choice of meats, and you get your veggies and you get your cereal and you get your fruit, then you get your soup, then you get your tuna and peanut butter, then you get pasta, and then you're led to a miscellaneous area, and you get a choice of one, and then you go on to the next area, which is choice of 3, which is tough to cut down because there's real sweets, really good sweets. And
my name is Kathleen Kelly, and I'm program coordinator at Amazing Grace Food Pantry in Middletown.
You know, I was having like a little problem with food and stuff like that, so I started coming, you know, to pick up food and stuff like that. You know, soup kitchen, I used to eat at soup kitchen, then I ended up volunteering. So I volunteered for the soup kitchen over a year, and it's not that bad. You know, if you need help, you know, it's not bad to reach out and ask somebody for help. You know, because I had a problem with that. You know, my ego got in the way, but I wasn't getting nowhere with my ego in the way, so I started asking for help.
Most people are incredibly gracious and happy. Sometimes some people who come for the first time even get a little teary because they have no idea they're going to get this much.
Probably 40% comes from Connecticut Food Bank, another 40% from the program called Families Feeding Families. We have like a tuna fish church that commits to 100 cans of tuna fish every month. We have cereal, a church in Rocky Hill that commits to 300 boxes of cereal every month. Individual family might commit to 10 jars of peanut butter, or 20 cans of beans. We have a school that does baked beans.
I mean, it's nice to for people that do donations and stuff like that, because if I was able to do a donation and stuff like that for the homeless or soup kitchens and stuff like that, I would do it. You know, because everybody need help. You know, you can't do it by yourself all the time. You might probably get 1 meal a day, probably at the soup kitchen, or you go hungry.
I hate to think of what would happen. I mean, this is a community resource. It's a blessed and beloved resource. And God forbid that we should lose the privilege of coming here, and it's really a horrible thing to think of, because we rely on these places, and we rely on the goodwill and the energy of those who like to serve. just, you know, if you have any sense of embarrassment about coming, do not, because you're absolutely welcome. And if you're fighting with yourself or feeling shame, just reach out.
Yeah, when I started 7 years ago, we were at like 850 families. That's when we were down just past the hospital at that where the restaurant is now. And now we're up to a maximum of 1,200. We don't hit that every month, but that's a lot of growth in 7 years.
It's usually about 1,000 families a month. Some months it's over, sometimes it's a little under, but 1,000 families. And that speaks to how much people need us. Yeah, it's a basic, you know, everybody should be able to have food and shelter, and this is very basic. I mean, food and shelter, it doesn't get any more basic than that.
Whoever do give, you know, it's a blessing. It kind of make you feel happy, or, you know, at least you're giving back. You know, if you're more wealthy and you're trying to give back, you know, I think that's a great thing. You know, you got to make it better. I mean, you can't make it better if you keep feeling sorry about yourself. You're the only one who can do something about it.
My name is Valerie Smith. I work here at St. Vincent's de Paul. I've been here for quite some time. I started in the late 80s.
Hi, my name's Ron Crum. I'm the Executive Director at St. Vincent de Paul Middletown.
I never thought about opportunities to work for the state or anything like that, because I always felt for certain places people were a number. And St. Vincent's de Paul allowed me not to treat people as a number, but as a person. So I was able to talk to them and enter into their darkest parts of their lives.
People used to have to go to churches. If they had a need for rental assistance, for utility assistance, for transportation in an emergency, they got a new job but they couldn't get there, and so to get them started, for medical bills, all those kinds of things, people used to go to the churches. And you know, some people would go from church to church to church, and the churches, it involved a lot of time. And so the community assistance program grew out of a sense that our Middletown faith community got together and said, we'd really like somebody who could play the role of a gatekeeper for all of the people in Middletown looking for emergency assistance. Right now we have 22. At one time there was as many as 26 churches that were a part of faith communities. We have a synagogue and a couple of other groups that are involved. So faith, I would say faith communities. There are 22. And the reason that it works so well is because our staff, Valerie Smith on our staff, is kind of the gatekeeper into those funds, and then those funds are split among all of the different faith communities.
My name is Vivian. We live in the town of Portland, and they referred us to her because we were looking for a program that would help us pay our electric bill. Any organization, anything that we turned to, they all said, well, you know, there's more needier people. I'm not exactly sure what they based on, who's more needy or not, but you know, either way, we didn't get the desired help.
A lot of times people are just a little bit above the poverty guideline, where they're not able to get anything.
Well, life happens, you know, sometimes we needed, that additional money for other things that, you know, were more important, food or other bills that couldn't wait. So it happened to be that we fell behind with the payments of New Start. And what happens is, because it's called a winter protection plan, they cannot shut your electric off. And so what happened is that you have to pay everything back before the winter protection is over, which I believe is in April. Yeah, and we couldn't do that.
So energy assistance is a highlight of my day because we have what we call Operation Fuel. That's totally a blessing to us because it helps us to help in other areas where they help with that. A good percentage of people that come in, we help them to get onto the New Start program. We prevent shut-off notices, or we help people to get their service back on. We put agencies together and we help that person get their service back on.
The other thing that we're careful about is that we're wanting to make sure that that if we are able to help someone to meet that particular need, that it really is a help, that it's not just kind of, you know, a prolong or a postponement of a problem that inevitably is going to come up the following month as well.
We don't owe Eversource anything. You really have to try to help yourself, but sometimes you just need the additional help in order to be able to help yourself, you know? And I think this was in our case where we really needed that. So this is actually going to be our first year that we are not under the winter protection plan any longer because we no longer need it, because we are keeping up, you know, with the bills. But like I said, those few years, this just would have been not possible. And if St. Vincent de Paul, along with, you know, obviously Valerie, if they would have not stepped in, I don't know what, they probably would have shut it off eventually either way.
Like say if a person came and they were behind in their rent, they were behind in all their bills. The good news is that they came looking for help, right? So with that, I may call a program to try to get them into outpatient or inpatient depending on what their insurance will allow them to do or what we will come to grips, because it's not about telling them what they should do, but how can we work it out? Because if they're working, we don't want them to lose their job. So we'll address problem number one, which would be the substance abuse. And because we don't want them to lose their housing, we will work on the rental issue.
Another service that we offer, we have about 170, 180, it varies from day to day, but people who don't have a stable place to live, and they may not be homeless, but they might be staying on a couch of a friend or a family member or someplace, and they just don't feel like they live there, so they don't use that address, they use our address. And so we get mail every day for a lot of people who don't have a stable address, and they come here. So Monday to Friday we're like a post office for the homeless. So anything that comes to the post office that indicates someone might be homeless, it comes to St. Vincent de Paul. This particular piece of mail says Water Spirit, homeless, Middletown, Connecticut, and they send it to us.
Not only did they help, I feel like, you know, with the electric, but then Valerie and I became close enough that I could just call her with other issues too, where she would say, okay, well, maybe you should try this or you should try that. And she's always in the same mood. Like there's never a change. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's always the same, so.
There's a number of different groups that have resources similar to ours, and they too trust our staff to be able to understand an issue, understand a problem, and to know that the money that they spend or that they might put towards that problem is going to be money well spent.
To be quite honest with you, if we don't work together as a community, a lot of needs will not get met. They will go unmet. So it's beneficial to all the community to work together hand by hand, people helping people to make a successful outcome.
The soup kitchen has a long history. It has been in existence for well over 30 years. And it is really a Main Street institution for those people in our community who tend to be outside of the mainstream.
I am Jeremiah Raffini. I am the executive chef of the agency. Yeah, I make sure that there's always a protein, a starch, and a vegetable. We prioritize fresh vegetables, and as I was saying, I don't do a lot of calorie counting, and I don't reduce carbs and fat the way you would if you're cooking at home, because a lot of people, it's probably their only real meal, or they're subsisting on a lot of junk food and empty calories. So I see that as less of a priority, and I probably cook a little heavier in that terms. You know, there's a lot of roux flours and fatty food, but you know, there's a lot of people who aren't getting that stuff, or they're limited access to fresh food, and so I cook a little heavier. But there is always, you know, it's fairly balanced, and there's a lot of fresh stuff. We don't use a lot of canned vegetables.
We see about 200 people a day. We serve breakfast, lunch, and then a bagged dinner that people can take with them. It consists of sandwiches and some snacks.
Big Y is the bakery thing that we have on a daily basis. They go to Big Y, they get the stuff directly. It's all day-old bakery. It comes straight here. And that's most of our breakfast desserts. And then the bread we make sandwiches from come from that. And we distribute bread in the dining room.
The population in the soup kitchen, I would compare to that of any diner, any favorite diner in any small town or big city neighborhood we have in the country. It has the flavor of being a diner.
No, it's not a problem. You see the reason? Yep, right. No, I came from both sides. Yes. All right. Oh, no, just a little.
And like diners, there's more than food happening in our soup kitchen.
There's always a dining room manager, and that's a part-time person. They all work 1 or 2 days a week. I'm here full-time, I'm always back here, and then Lydia oversees everything, and she's here full-time. It's a lot of regulars. I notice when somebody comes in who isn't normally here.
If you come into our community as somebody who's homeless, or somebody who's had a tragedy in their life, or down on their luck, or having a crisis of any sort, it won't take long for you to find the soup kitchen. When I came in at 8 o'clock, I saw a gentleman sitting at the table that I'd never seen before. So the first thing I do is introduce myself, and usually the second thing I ask people is, do you have a place to live? Do you have a place that you're living? And then I let them know that I'm here to help them if they have any needs.
It's a good thing for me to know that, you know, somebody gives a damn. You know, somebody really cares, and you know that, you know, for all my faults, at least I'm accepted in the community.
We embrace this community almost like a club. That need to be a part of a group is a sort of human experience. It is what human beings do. They look for other people who have similar experiences or with whom they will feel comfortable, and they want to be with them.
We have groups that are scheduled that we know are coming, but they generally just serve. And then there's some people who just come in, and a few of them commit to days, but a lot of them, they just come in when they have time or they feel like it, and we don't really know when that's coming. So there's been days when we've had nobody at all, and we've had to recruit 2 people just to get through. There's been days when we've had like 20 people, and we're desperate to find them stuff to do. The lunch today is white bean and spinach stew, which is right here, glazed carrots, which is right here, and I am doing wild rice, which I'm about to pull out of the oven actually right here.
There are beautiful souls that have wound up in these positions that you know, don't deserve it. You know, and even if they deserve it, maybe they need just a little wake-up call and some time and so forth. You know, I mean, a human being is a precious thing, in my opinion.